I thought I was marrying the woman of my dreams. Until I accidentally overheard her telling her friend, just a couple more months, and he'll buy the house, then I can file for divorce. Half of it will be mine. She had no idea I was standing in the next room. I met Lauren 3 years ago at a charity fundraiser in downtown Boston. She stood out immediately, not just because of her striking beauty, but the way she commanded attention. Her blonde hair cascaded down her shoulders, and her blue eyes sparkled with intelligence and charm. When she laughed, the sound filled the room like music. I wasn't looking for love that night. After my last relationship ended badly, I had thrown myself into building my software development company. But when Lauren approached me with a glass of champagne and a smile that made my heart skip, everything changed. "You look like you'd rather be anywhere but here," she said, handing me the glass. I couldn't help but smile back. "That obvious, huh?" "I'm Lauren," she said, extending her hand. "Michael," I replied, taking it. Her touch lingered just a second longer than necessary. We talked for hours that night. She worked in real estate, helping people find their dream homes, as she put it. She was smart, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in my work. By the end of the evening, I had her number and a promise to meet for dinner that weekend. Our relationship moved quickly. After 3 months of dating, we were practically inseparable. She was everything I thought I wanted, supportive of my career, affectionate, and always ready with encouragement when I faced challenges at work. "You're going to be so successful, Michael," she would say, her fingers tracing patterns on my arm. "I've never met anyone with your drive and talent." 6 months in, she suggested moving in together. Her lease was ending, and it seemed like the natural next step. I agreed, and soon my modern downtown condo was filled with her things: designer clothes, expensive artwork, and scented candles that made the place feel more like a home than it ever had before. Life with Lauren was good. We hosted dinner parties for her real estate colleagues and my tech friends. We took weekend trips to Cape Cod and planned a future together. She spoke often about marriage, about starting a family someday. "But first," she would say, curling up next to me on the couch, "we need a real home. A house with a yard and space for a family. Don't you think?" I did think about it. My business was doing well, better than well, actually. I had just landed a major contract with a Fortune 500 company that would set me up financially for years. A house seemed like a solid investment, and making Lauren happy made me happy. So we started looking. Every weekend for months, Lauren would arrange viewings. We'd walk through homes in upscale Boston suburbs, and she'd point out features she loved: gourmet kitchens, master suites, landscaped gardens. "This one's perfect," she said one Sunday afternoon as we stood in the foyer of a colonial-style home in Lexington. The asking price was steep, $1.2 million, but it checked all our boxes. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, an open-concept living area, and a backyard with a built-in fire pit. "Can't you just see us here? Raising a family?" I could. I pictured Lauren in that kitchen, imagined children running up and down the stairs. I saw holiday gatherings and summer barbecues. I saw our future. "Let's make an offer," I said, and the joy that spread across her face convinced me I'd made the right decision. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of paperwork, negotiations, and planning. Lauren was exceptionally helpful throughout the process, leveraging her real estate contacts to expedite things. She suggested we put the house solely in my name initially, for tax purposes, she explained, but add her after the marriage. "We'll be engaged soon anyway, right?" she'd say with a wink that made my heart race. And she was right. I had already bought the ring, a 3-carat diamond that cost nearly as much as my first car. The closing was scheduled for a Friday. That Wednesday night, Lauren's friend Melissa came over for wine. I was working late in my home office, trying to finish a project before the move. Around 10 p.m., I headed to the kitchen for coffee, walking quietly through the hallway that connected to the living room. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. But as I approached, Lauren's words stopped me cold. Just a couple more months, and he'll buy the house, then I can file for divorce. Half of it will be mine. I froze, my body going numb as I pressed against the wall, out of sight. Melissa's voice was hushed but clear. You're sure he doesn't suspect anything? Lauren laughed, that same laugh I once found so enchanting now sounded hollow and cruel. Completely. He worships me. Thinks I'm in love. What if he doesn't buy the house? He will. I've been steering him toward it for months. As soon as he closes, I'll file for divorce. And you're sure you'll get half? Even if you're not married? We've been living together for over 2 years. In Massachusetts, that practically makes us common law. Plus, I've got screenshots of all his promises about our future together. My lawyer says I've got a solid case for palimony at minimum, especially with a property this valuable. I stood there, blood rushing in my ears, as the woman I loved discussed dismantling my life as casually as if she were planning a vacation. What about the affair? Melissa asked. Does he know about that? My stomach dropped even further. God, no. Ryan's been careful. We only meet at his place or hotels. Michael's so trusting, it's almost too easy. Ryan. Her colleague. The tall, smooth-talking commercial real estate agent who'd been to our dinner parties, who'd shaken my hand and clapped me on the back like a friend. How long has that been going on again? Almost a year, Lauren said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. He's just waiting for me to get my settlement, then we're going to find our own place. Somewhere warm. Maybe Miami. I'd heard enough. Silently, I retreated to my office, closed the door, and sat in the dark, trying to process the betrayal. The woman sleeping in my bed had been planning to ruin me for months, maybe since the beginning. Every kiss, every "I love you," every plan for our future had been a calculated step in her scheme. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I formulated a plan. The next morning, I acted normal, kissed Lauren goodbye as she left for work, told her I loved her. Then I called my lawyer, my banker, and finally, a private investigator I'd worked with when vetting potential business partners. I need everything you can find on Lauren Bennett and Ryan Cooper. Phone records, credit card statements, hotel receipts. And I need it by tomorrow morning. That's a tight timeline, the PI said. I'll pay triple your usual rate. By Thursday evening, I had what I needed. Photos of Lauren and Ryan together dating back 8 months. Text messages retrieved from a cloud backup of her phone that she didn't know I had access to. Credit card statements showing hotel charges and expensive gifts, many purchased with the supplementary card to my account that I'd given her for emergencies. Most damning were the emails between her and a divorce attorney from 6 months ago, outlining her strategy. She'd been planning this before we even started looking at houses. Friday morning arrived, closing day. Lauren was buoyant, practically glowing as we dressed for our appointment at the bank. This is it, baby, she said, straightening my tie. The start of our forever. I smiled and kissed her forehead. It certainly is. At the bank, our closing attorney greeted us warmly. Ready to become homeowners? Lauren beamed. Absolutely. I signed the papers, all of them listing me as the sole owner. Lauren didn't notice, she was too busy texting someone, probably Ryan, under the table. When the attorney slid the final document toward me, I hesitated just long enough for Lauren to look up. Is everything okay? She asked, a hint of concern in her voice. Perfect, I said, signing with a flourish. We celebrated with champagne at an upscale restaurant downtown. Lauren was radiant, already talking about furniture shopping and paint colors. I let her plan, nodding and smiling at all the right moments. When we returned to the condo, I asked her to wait in the living room. I have a surprise for you. I went to my office and returned with a manila envelope, which I placed on the coffee table in front of her. What's this? she asked, excitement in her eyes. Probably thinking it was jewelry or the deed with her name added. Divorce papers. Her face froze, the smile still in place but her eyes going cold and calculating. What? Michael, is this some kind of joke? No joke. I heard your conversation with Melissa the other night. The color drained from her face. That was just girl talk. It didn't mean anything. Really? Because it sounded pretty detailed for girl talk. Planning to take half my house, Lauren. Planning to run off with Ryan to Miami. She stood up, switching tactics instantly. You misunderstood. I was just venting. You've been so distant lately, working all the time. Save it, I interrupted, pulling out my phone. I played a recording, not of the conversation with Melissa, which I hadn't actually recorded, but of a phone call she'd made to Ryan yesterday that my PI had intercepted. Her voice filled the room. Tomorrow it's done. He signs, I wait a decent interval, then file. His lawyer will try to protect the house, but mine says with the promises he's made, I've got a solid claim to at least a third, maybe half. Lauren's face contorted with rage. You spied on me. You recorded my private conversations. That's illegal. Actually, Massachusetts is a one-party consent state for recordings. But that's beside the point. The house is in my name only. There will be no divorce settlement because we're not married. There will be no palimony because I have evidence of your infidelity and conspiracy to defraud. You get nothing. She lunged for her purse, probably reaching for her phone, but I was faster. I handed her a second envelope. What's this? She asked, her voice shaking now. A full accounting of all the money you've spent from my accounts on your affair. Hotel rooms, gifts for Ryan, that weekend spa trip that you said was with your sister but was actually with him. You have two options. Sign these papers acknowledging you have no claim to any of my assets and walk away, or I take this evidence to the police and file fraud charges. You wouldn't, she whispered. Try me. For a moment, I saw uncertainty flicker in her eyes. Then the mask fell completely, revealing the cold, calculating woman beneath. You think you're so clever, she hissed. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I'll fight this. I'll tell everyone you abused me. I'll ruin your reputation, your business. Go ahead, I said calmly. I've already spoken to our friends, shown them the evidence. I've alerted my clients that my personal life might be generating some controversy. And I've frozen all of our joint accounts. You have exactly what you came into this relationship with, nothing. She tried to slap me, but I caught her wrist. Not roughly, just firmly enough to stop her. Get your things and get out, I said. You have until Sunday. Anything left behind will be donated. I'll destroy you, she seethed. You already tried. You failed. It took her 3 hours to pack her essential belongings, mostly clothes and jewelry. She left in an Uber, refusing to look at me. Later that night, I received a text. You'll regret this. I changed the locks the next morning and hired a security service to watch the house for the next month. On Sunday, as promised, I had her remaining possessions boxed up and delivered to a storage facility. I paid for 1 month and sent her the key and access code. The following weeks were hard. Despite knowing who Lauren really was, I still grieved for the relationship I thought we had. I threw myself into work in setting up the new house, my house. A month later, Ryan's wife, yes, he was married, contacted me. Lauren had reached out to her too, accidentally exposing the affair. We met for coffee, shared our stories, and found unexpected solidarity in our parallel experiences of betrayal. Lauren made good on her threat to try to destroy my reputation. She left scathing reviews of my business online and told mutual friends I had been abusive. But the evidence I had gathered spoke for itself, and most people saw through her lies. She did file a civil suit claiming an interest in the house, but it was dismissed when her own emails revealing her fraudulent intent were entered into evidence. Last I heard, she had moved to Florida, not Miami, but a much less glamorous suburb of Jacksonville. She's working at a strip mall real estate office. Ryan never left his wife. As for me, I'm still in the house. Sometimes at night, I walk through the empty rooms and think about the family I imagined having here. Those dreams are gone now, but new ones will come. I'm learning to trust again, slowly. And I've discovered something important: the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about moving forward without carrying the weight of bitterness. Lauren tried to destroy me by taking everything I had built. Instead, she lost everything, including the one thing she never valued but might have been worth keeping: my love. The last text I sent her, which remains unanswered. I don't regret anything. You taught me what I'm worth. Thank you. 6 months after everything fell apart, I was having dinner at a new restaurant downtown when I spotted a familiar face at the bar. Melissa, Lauren's friend and confidant. She saw me too, and for a moment, we both froze. Then, surprisingly, she approached my table. "Mind if I join you?" she asked. I gestured to the empty chair across from me. "Be my guest." An uncomfortable silence settled between us until the waiter brought her a glass of wine. She took a long sip before speaking. "I owe you an apology," she said finally. "I knew what Lauren was planning. I should have said something." I studied her face, looking for insincerity but finding only regret. "Why didn't you?" She shrugged, eyes downcast. "Lauren and I have been friends since college. I guess loyalty clouded my judgment. But what she did to you was wrong." "Yes, it was," I agreed, not making it easier for her. "She's not doing well, you know," Melissa continued. "The firm in Florida fired her last month. Something about falsifying client information." I wasn't surprised. Lauren's patterns of deception weren't limited to our relationship. "She called me last week, asking for money," Melissa said. "When I refused, she threatened to tell my husband about some indiscretions from years ago. That's when I realized she'd never really been my friend." "She sees people as tools," I said. "Useful until they're not." Melissa nodded, twirling her wine glass. "She told me one thing, though, that you should know." She hesitated. "She's pregnant. Says it's yours." The restaurant seemed to dim around me as her words sank in. "A child? My child?" "It's not possible," I said after a moment. "We were careful." "Were you always careful?" Melissa pressed. "Even in those last few months when she was setting everything up. She knew a baby would strengthen her claim." My mind raced back, counting days and weeks. There had been a night, after closing on the house, when we'd had too much champagne. "How far along is she?" "She claims 4 months. Due in summer." The timing would match. A cold dread settled in my stomach. "I thought you should know," Melissa said, finishing her wine and standing. "What you do with this information is up to you." After she left, I sat at that table for another hour, untouched food growing cold. If Lauren was pregnant with my child, everything changed. I couldn't ignore it, regardless of what she had done. That night, I called my lawyer. "We need to proceed carefully," she advised. "First, demand a paternity test. If the child is yours, we'll file for custody arrangements. Given the evidence we have of her character and behavior, we have a strong case." The next day, I sent Lauren a message. "Melissa told me about the pregnancy. If the child is mine, I want a paternity test and to be involved in their life." Her response came hours later: "So now you care? After throwing me out with nothing? This baby is mine, and you'll never see it." I forwarded the exchange to my lawyer, who immediately began drafting legal documents. We filed for a court-ordered paternity test, which Lauren initially fought but eventually conceded to when her lawyer explained the inevitable outcome. 2 weeks later, the results arrived. The baby wasn't mine. It wasn't even Ryan's. According to the DNA profile, the father was another man entirely, someone Lauren had apparently been seeing simultaneously. When confronted with this evidence, Lauren's final scheme collapsed. Her lawyer withdrew from the case, and she stopped responding to legal communications altogether. It was only by chance that I learned the epilogue to her story. A mutual acquaintance ran into her in Tampa a year later. There was no baby, there had never been a baby. It had been one final, desperate attempt to extract something from me, one last manipulation that failed like all the others. The house that was meant to be her payday has become my sanctuary. I've renovated it completely, erasing any trace of the plans we once made together. The master bedroom is now my home office. The nursery she once described in detail is a guest room. I've planted a garden in the backyard, something I never thought I'd enjoy, but tending to growing things has become a form of therapy. Last month, I started dating again. Sarah is nothing like Lauren, she's a pediatric nurse with a straightforward manner and genuine laugh. When I told her about my experience with Lauren, she didn't offer empty platitudes or rushed reassurances. "That's a lot to process," she said simply. "I'm glad you told me. We're taking things slowly." She comes over for dinner sometimes, and we talk about everything and nothing. She has no interest in my house or my company's success. When I mentioned possibly selling the house because of its complicated history, she looked around thoughtfully. "It's a beautiful home," she said. "Don't let someone else's bad intentions taint it. This is your space now. Fill it with better memories." I'm trying to do just that. The pain of Lauren's betrayal hasn't disappeared entirely, I'm not sure it ever will. But it's faded enough that I can see beyond it, to possibilities I couldn't imagine in those dark days after discovering her plan. Sometimes I wonder if Lauren ever reflects on what she lost in her quest to take what was mine. Not just materially, but the chance at a genuine partnership, at building something real together. Perhaps in her mind, the potential financial gain was worth the gamble. Or perhaps she's incapable of valuing anything beyond what it can provide her in the moment. I'll never know. And that's the final piece of my freedom from her, understanding that her motivations, her regrets, her current struggles or triumphs no longer matter to my story. She chose her path, and I chose mine. They say living well is the best revenge. I don't think about revenge anymore. But I am living well, on my own terms, in the home I've made truly mine.